Hello friends and potential friends, Jack here at Geeky Gardens, and I figured I'd walk around a little bit and see what kind of green I've got going. Because the way this weather's been lately, I imagine there's a lot of people up north that could use a little bit of a green fix right now. We've been going through roller coaster weather. Front comes through, chance of rain, cools things off a little bit, and 3 or 4 days later we're back up near the 80s again. In fact, I believe it was just yesterday we set record high temperatures around 86 degrees, and today we can't even make it to 60. So that's our form of winter weather. And I'm starting out here with the salad towers because I've been coming out to visit this thing several times a day. Been eating a lot of salads because in a couple of months my salads will be done for the year. And on a happy note, I mean, a lot of you saw that I lost most of my tomatoes this year to the Christmas freeze. Well, the freeze didn't get all of them. These are garden peach. I had put them out here because I wanted to get seeds from them, so I separate them from all the other tomatoes. And these 2 or 3 plants, 4 plants here, are the only ones that survived the freeze. And now I'm starting to get some ripening tomatoes. So that worked out. None of the Swiss chard that I planted in here ever did anything. But I got me some tomatoes. And the salad tower, starting to bolt. Yep, won't be much longer. But they're still growing right now. Getting nasturtiums. Add those to my salads too. And they're looking a little bit droopy right now because the last front came through, today's Friday, January 27th, 2023. I think the last front came through late Wednesday night. We got a whole whopping 1/10 of an inch of rain. This is the same front that's got flooding going on all across the southern states and up into the northeast. And we got just a little touch of it. So I'm going to have to come out here and do some watering. Now, let's go back and see what we got back in the backyard. Well, I haven't had you in the lab for a while because there hasn't been a lot going on in here. But right after the Christmas freeze, I did start some tomatoes germinating a little bit early. Normally I plant tomatoes, or I plant the seeds around the end of February, and they go outside around somewhere in March. But that freeze just kind of set me back quite a bit, so I planted more seeds immediately. Figured if I get lucky, I might get a jump on spring this year. I've got some Everglades tomato seeds back there. The Floridads, I've got a few of them that have sprouted, and I've got 5 more of the Floridads right over here that I've already transferred into yogurt cups. There's about 9 Praxis cherry tomatoes there. I've got garden peach here. Looking for some more Praxis cherries here. And some more Homestead tomatoes. Still have my bonsai rosemary, though I need to trim it up again. And back here in the corner, I've got 2 cuttings from the pear tree next door, and I'm starting to see some activity. What's worrying me is that started growing leaves down here near the base, but I have yet to see anything that looks like a real root. So I'm a little bit worried about whether I should put those into soil or not. The one back there in the corner I put into the soil, been at least 2 or 3 months ago, and it's just not doing anything. And incidentally, to keep up with my buddy CJ up in New York, I planted a few olive seeds in here to see what's going to happen. And the last one is some replacement asparagus that I'll be putting out this spring. So right now, that's about it. I need to get some pepper plant or seeds started. Probably a few more tomatoes, though I'm not sure where I'm going to put them. And then we'll see what else I can find to plant. Now let's go out in the main garden beds. And up here on the patio in the container gardens, there's that last 4 comfrey plant that I haven't put in the ground yet. And the 2 avocados that came through the freeze. This Pachypodium, I think it's called, still hasn't shown any green on it, so I'm not sure whether it's going to make it or not. And then this green stalk is my ginger and turmeric, and that probably won't start sprouting until about March or April. Experimental bed is just kind of a mess right now. Haven't been doing much with it either. And this other salad tower that I planted not long after the one that's out front is still not doing anything. I'm just not sure what's going on there. I do have a couple of strawberries that are still alive, but I need to get more of those going too. The elderberry, it's doing pretty good. Made it through the freeze. Pineapples are recovering slowly. The cold did get them pretty hard, but it looks like they are all going to make it, or at least most of them. There's one back there I'm not really sure about yet. I don't have anything in here. That's going to probably be either potatoes or sweet potatoes again this year. My other rosemary is doing good. Dragon tree, I'm just waiting on that one. We'll see what it decides to do. And Snowflake, out to visit with me while I'm out here. Yeah. My gardening buddy. And in this bed, I decided to plant some beans. Put these in the ground about a week ago, and quite a few of them have come up. These ones on this side are rattlesnake beans. Over on the other side, I believe those are Great Northern beans. Yep, those are Great Northern beans. They came from Wally World originally. I planted them last year, and I saved all the beans I got from them, and that's what I've got planted here this year. So these are the, what, F1, I guess? Over in this bed, I'm saving this space for tomatoes. And the far side are those the Kentucky Wonders? Yes. These are some Kentucky Wonder pole beans. So I'm going to be getting some beans this year, hopefully. The other pineapples, that one right there looks pretty bad, but probably will recover. That's the one I'm most worried about right now. The others seem to be doing fairly well. And that empty pot right there, I planted some ginger in there, and I've put it out here in the direct sunlight to see how well it does out here. Normally I grow my ginger in the shade primarily. Let's see, Patience Garden. The stalks actually died back this year. I guess that Christmas freeze made them do that. And I need to add another thick layer of mulch over top of this one. The asparagus that I've got growing in the lab will be going in here. And there's still a few plants in here that I planted about 2-3 weeks ago. So they're starting their 3-year cycle. But I do have some green for you. Up here at this end, this is a green acre cabbage. And then there's some red acre cabbage. And this is the Mishihili Asian cabbage. And it's all bolting. I decided to go ahead and let it bolt and save seeds from it. And then I've got Brussels sprouts here that have not started forming any sprouts yet. And this at the end, I believe, is my, what is it, snowball cauliflower. And I don't see any heads forming on that yet. Next over here, we've got some comfrey at this end. And then we've got some broccoli here. And I'm happy to report that a couple of, there's one. Let me get out of the light. Can you see that little thing down in there? That's a little teeny tiny broccoli head. I'm just hoping it forms a head before it decides to bolt. And here we've got various radishes. And if you look down in there, you can see that quite a few of them are bulbing up. I've been picking radishes the last couple of weeks, adding them into my salads, and cooking them up with my fish and things like that. And then at the end here, we've got the slow bolt cilantro, which so far is not bolted. And that row right in the middle there is 5 elephant garlics. We'll see what they decide to do. Over on this side, I've got a little bit more comfrey. I had one jalapeno pepper plant that sprouted in the lab about a month ago, so I brought it out here. And if you look close, you'll see quite a few contender bush beans starting to pop up. So this half of the bed is going to be bush beans. This half down here, I put a bunch of sweet potatoes in here to grow slips from. Hopefully I'll have some slips to plant in a couple of months here. Got another empty bed back here. I'm not sure what's going to go in there. We'll find out when it happens. And then the rest of my salad greens. Got a little bit of ruby red Swiss chard, a little bit of curly kale. There's still a little bit of lettuce in here. And then this is the red Russian kale. And down at the end, there's my cabbage collards. Those always seem to do good for me. And yes, I've been munching on those from time to time too. Because I've still got plenty of collards in the pantry that I canned a couple years ago. So these ones I just grew to eat fresh. And then I have one more empty bed over here. That will wind up being potatoes or sweet potatoes. I haven't decided yet. And somewhere in here, I'm hoping to have some corn growing before too long. But it's still just a little bit too early for that. Plus, I don't have a place to put it. Because this one I want to make potatoes or sweet potatoes. Though I do have one more of those beds that I haven't put together yet. If I rearrange that electric fence a little bit, I could almost put it right there next to this one. That's going to be a job for another day as well. And I guess we could take a quick look at the mini orchard. A lot of disappointments back there though. Okay, out in the mini orchard, lemongrass is still doing good. Gardenia, I'm just leaving it alone to see if it comes back. So far it's not looking real promising. This avocado lost about half its leaves, but the other half is nice and green and it's getting a little bit of new growth on it. Back in here in the shade, the original Ponderosa lemon Looks like it's about ripe. Not as big as they usually get, but this one is a little bit, misformed, but obviously it's time to pick it, because that came right off of my hand. And I still have this other one for later on. Loquat's doing pretty good. A Meyer lemon, about 7 feet tall now, has a lot of new growth on it. Got some more pineapples planted out here. Most of them are looking good. One of them doesn't look real good. The guava, I'm not sure about yet. There's still a little bit of life left in it, so I'm hoping it'll come back. And then I've got a pomegranate right here that's still got a little bit of life in it. Now my papayas, well, papayas are not with us anymore. That one's rotted all the way down to the ground. The big one is going the same way. Got a fig over here that's putting on some leaves again, so that's promising. My other fig has had those leaves on it all winter. I guess there are some benefits to having it back there in the shade. Sugarcane, I'm not sure about. Not much left of that. And then this is my other Ponderosa lemon. My elderberry, I thought it was gone, but it does still have a couple of green leaves on it. This pomegranate I'm not sure about. It did drop all its leaves, but I may be seeing a couple of leaves starting to come back on it. And the blueberry, that poor thing. I got one branch that's still got some green on it. And the moringa hasn't started doing anything yet. I've got a few other things planted around here. For example, I planted some ginger and turmeric around the moringa, but again, that won't pop up until probably March, April, maybe May. A little bit more rosemary back here. I've got rosemary all over the place. But everything else, well, it's a mixed bag back here in the mini orchard. But I do have a lot of greens up there in the beds. So I hope you've enjoyed this little green fix. And I'll try to get some more growing for you pretty quick. Meanwhile, I'll see you next time.